Now, we all know that gym leaders like Lance and Iris have type specialties, but not all champions do. So I'm here to ask the question, with all champions had a type specialty? First up, we've got the most iconic champion, Blue, and I tried to centre his team about his most iconic Pokemon, which I would usually say is Pidgeot, but honestly, his most iconic Pokemon in the game you play is his starter. It's the one he starts with in his first few battles. It's his main Pokemon, and so since he's the first champion and I decided to do something a bit special, I gave him a team for each starter he might have. So for example, if you choose Squirtle, he'll end up with Venusaur and he'll be a grass-type specialist with Venusaur and Exeggutor, two Pokemon he uses on his main team. Then he'll add a Leafeon, evolved from the Eevee he uses in yellow. Then I wanted to give him two Pokemon that represent the other starters he could have had, so I gave him Torterra for Blastoise and Tropius for Charizard. And finally, I gave him a Cranidos to represent his Aerodactyl, since they're both fossil Pokemon. Next up, if you choose Bulbasaur, he's a fire specialist. He starts off with Charizard, then I added Arcanine from his main team, Ninetales and Flareon, which he uses in yellow version. We're getting a bit of skill with the Houndoom he uses in Pokemon Stadium, and finally a Talonflame as a replacement for his Pidgeot, which is his second most iconic Pokemon. Lastly, if you choose Charmander, he has a Blastoise obviously, and his Gyarados, which he uses on multiple occasions. Closer and Vaporeon from yellow version, and lastly his Kingdra and Slowbro, which he uses in Pokemon Stadium. Lance is up next, and I know what he's saying, but Lance is already a Dragon-type specialist. He is, I just don't really like his team. He's a champion in Gen 2, he should be using the Gen 2 Dragon-type Kingdra. It's not his new ace or anything, but I just decided to add it. I don't really care that it's Claire's ace, we really shouldn't be limiting him. Now, Steven's split down the middle, because he has both 3 rock types and 3 steel types. But since his Metagross is his main Pokemon, most iconic, I decided for him to be a steel specialist. The 3 Pokemon he already has, obviously. Then, since he has both the Ho and Fossil Pokemon, I gave him Bastiodon, the Excadrill he uses in the Pokemon World Tournament, and lastly, there's a trade you can do where you give him a Fortress and he gives you a Beldum. So I decided he could have the Fortress. Wallace is already a Water-type specialist, and unlike Lance, I don't have any problems with his team, so on to the most iconic champion, Cynthia. Speaking of Water specialists, the only type that overlaps on her team is Water, so we're making her a Water-type specialist. Gastrodon is her ace, since its ground type makes it most similar to a previous ace, Garchomp. Then she has Vaporeon, since she uses the Evolutions many times, and Milotic she already uses on her team. Lastly, I wanted to give a Pokemon that represented the most iconic members already on her team, Pelipper to represent Togekiss, Ludicolo to represent Roserade, and lastly Jellicent to represent Spiritomb. Next up is the Gen 5 champion, Alder, and his was actually pretty obvious to me. His ace Volcarona Azori has been more bug than fire to me, and he uses Excavalier and Excelgar on multiple occasions, so he's a bug-type champion, pretty weird. Flygon as a replacement for Druddigon works so well I don't even care, it's not a bug-type. Type specialists use Pokemon not of their type. Lastly, I gave him Frostmoth to represent Vanilluxe and Heracross to represent Conkeldurr, which actually works better than expected because they're both fighting type and they both have Guts as their ability. Next up, the most forgettable champion, Diantha, and hers is pretty obvious to me. The only type overlapping on her team is Rock, so she's a Rock type specialist, and her ace, hear me out, is going to be Mega Diancie. Not only is it the only Mega for a Gen 6 Pokemon, it's a Rock-type Mega, Diancie, Diantha, pretty similar sounding, she uses it at multiple points, and it's the closest looking Rock Mega to her ace Gardevoir. So as weird as it sounds, it actually works really well. The 2 rock types she already has, obviously. Fun fact, in some spin-offs she actually uses Keldeo, so I gave her the rock type Solid Justice Terrakion. And since the 2 rock types she already had with fossils, I gave her 2 more to represent her Pokemon. I gave her Aerodactyl representing Hawlucha, and Cranidos representing Gourgeist. Next up, Professor Kukui, and I decided to make him a normal type specialist. Braviary is his ace since I just think it fits his vibe. Snorlax he already uses. He catches a Pikipek in the catching tutorial, so I gave him a Toucan in its evolved form. He has a Beware in the anime, and finally, to represent the 2 things introduced in Alola, I gave him the regional form Alolan Raticate and the totem Pokemon Young Shoes. How was obvious to me, Alolan Raichu is like his whole thing, so he's an electric type specialist. He uses Jolteon on multiple occasions, and in spin-off games he used Tapu Koko Poco. Next up, I gave him Kilowattrel to represent his Noivern, and Alolan Golem since he already has an Alolan form as an ace, and I just think it fits him. And in the post-game, he actually goes on an adventure where he catches a Ultra Beast, and even though it's not the same one, I think that means Xurkitree can be on his team. Fun fact, I actually forgot about Trace whilst writing the script for this video, so I had to make this team basically just right now. Even though they're in different versions, I gave him both Raichu and Jolteon. Next up, I gave him Mega Ampharos as the ace, and somehow he sneaks in a Mega Pidgeot in a game without Megas, and this is the closest to Mega Electric type to it. He catches a Marowak in a story-important location, the Pokemon Tower, so I thought he could catch Electabuzz as like a replacement from the Pokemon like Power Center. I thought that would be cool. Rotom Mow to represent his Valplume, and then I gave him Zebstrika to represent his Rapidash. Leon was tough. He has a bunch of overlapping type specialties because he has a bunch of different teams. Like, he had 2 of almost any type I could imagine. I was originally going to make him a Dragon type specialist, but since we've already got so many of those, I decided to make him a Ghost type specialist, since Dragapult is his strongest Pokemon. Aegislash is the other Ghost type he already uses. Next, I wanted to give him Starter, since he always has 2 starters on his team, and since he always has 5 starter, I gave him Hisuian Typhlosion. Then I gave him 3 Pokemon to represent his existing team members. I gave him Runerigus to represent his ground types. I gave him Jellicent to represent his water types, which he actually has 2 of. And then I gave him Gourgeist to represent the Calyrex he's sometimes seen using. Geeta, the next most forgettable champion, already has 2 Psychic types, and she gives you a Terra Psychic Glimmet. Since Glamoura's a race, I thought that fit. Since she can keep Glamour as the ace since she can Terastallize it. Then she has the 2 Psychic types she already has. Delphox, since she uses Chestnut on multiple occasions, so I decided to give her the other Kalos starter. Farigiraf, as she already has 2 newly introduced evolutions in Gen 9, and this one fit. And also, a big part of her lore and story is Area Zero, and Espeon are everywhere there, so that'll be her final team member. Next up, the actual Gen 9 champion, Nemona. She was pretty tough until I got deeper into it and found out she has a butt ton of fighting types. Palma as her iconic ace, Quaquaval, since obviously she'll have a starter, Infernape and Komodo she uses on multiple times, she trades you a Paldean Tauros, so I say she keeps it, and she gets mind controlled by Petron in the DLC thing, so I decided to give her Okidogi as her final Pokemon. Pretty strong. And finally, as just a little bit of a bonus, we're going to do the champion from my personal region, Gloria. Here's his team, no overlapping types, I didn't even realise I had planned it that well, but since his Gigantamax Pokemon is G-Max Dandelion, a grass dragon type, and we already have so many dragons specialising champions, I decided to make him a grass type specialist, which I wasn't actually expecting. Since the themes of his original team is like different types of fighting and warfare, I decided to just keep that theme in his new Pokemon. Breloom for martial arts or close combat, Shiftry for assassins, Amoonguss for like chemical warfare, Hisuian Electrode is literally like a bomb, it would no explosion, and then finally Decidueye for like archery. Now, I'm really fond of this team, I hope you liked the video, I'll see you guys next time.